Astronomy Live here. This scene depicts what they think it would be like if NASA were to admit to the world that they were lying all along, and that their missions were all fake. Of course, this would require some explanation of independent footage of missions occurring in deep space. But it's interesting to note that they accept the premise that low Earth orbit missions are totally real.
We have never been higher than lower Earth orbit.
Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go.
Sure sounds like they just conceded that low Earth orbit is real. Let's take a closer look at the context of the clip they showed. This is from Expedition 43, featuring astronauts Terry Virts and Samantha Christopher Reddy.
And what comes after the International Space Station once its mission is over? How do we ensure the presence of humans in space?
Well, that's a great question. The plan that NASA has is to build a rocket called SLS, which is a heavy lift rocket. It's something that is much bigger than what we have today, and it will be able to launch the Orion capsule with humans on board, as well as landers or other components to destinations beyond Earth orbit. Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.
So when we look at the full context of the clip, Terry Virts was asked about what comes after the International Space Station. That's why he was comparing it to what we can currently do with currently flying rockets. This chart from Everyday Astronaut compares some of those rockets and compares them to the Saturn V. Even Falcon Heavy, when fully expended, is only capable of sending 15 tons on a TLI trajectory, a translunar trajectory towards the moon. SLS, by comparison, in the Block 1B configuration, will be capable of sending 43 tons to the moon in a single launch, almost on par with the Saturn V rocket from the Apollo program. That kind of super heavy lift capability is necessary to send a crewed vehicle with capabilities similar to the Apollo program all the way to the moon.
Every image we have shown you is CGI. Our films are mostly done in an underwater buoyancy facility.
The astronauts do train for spacewalks in a large pool at the Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory. That's not a secret, nor is it a conspiracy. It's just the most practical way to practice for working in weightlessness. But it begs the question of who it is I filmed boarding the rocket, launching into space, and why it is that I can see the space station through my telescope if it's all CGI. Now, in terms of the money spent on NASA, NASA currently makes up about 0.5% of the federal budget every year. It peaked at the height of the Apollo program, and it's been declining pretty much ever since. In this next clip, Eddie Bravo talks about his previous love of space. It might be why he's the owner of 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. He also commissioned a manager of a Planet X Jiu-Jitsu. Maybe what he actually loved were conspiracy theories.
Beyond Venus, 93 million miles from the Sun, is Earth. Its great oceans forming the clouds and air currents which warm and irrigate the planet.
I thought I was better than people because I knew so much about space. And every now and then I'd watch all that and wonder, what? This is all cartoons.
The documentary they just showed is from 1976, simply titled Universe, narrated by William Shatner.
Beyond Venus, 93 million miles from the Sun, is Earth.
The documentary does use a lot of simple animation to depict the concepts that it's illustrating, but I don't think anyone would mistake this for genuine footage. Indeed, this is just a documentary, not primary source material, and it's interspersed with some real photos of space taken by various telescopes. At the end, they give credit to the animators. They're not trying to hide the fact that animation was involved, but that doesn't mean that all images of space are fake.
And every now and then I think to myself, it's weird that we're not watching any actual footage of space. It's all CGI. All DVDs on space are all CGI. There's nothing real. And everyone watches that, they believe it, the narration is all programming.
All CGI? No real footage? Even going back to that 1976 documentary they showed, here's a shot of the Orion Nebula. And if I fade it over to my own picture of the same nebula with the same orientation, you can see it's a match. In fact, the technology has advanced so far from 1976 that I can actually get an even better shot of the same nebula with my own telescope from my own front yard.
What's above us and what we're on, we're being lied to. Do we have Hubble?
Do we have a Hubble? Yes, we do. In fact, I've tracked the Hubble Space Telescope with my own telescope, and I found that the pointing attitude matches the expected attitude given its observing schedule and where it's supposed to be pointed in space.
Why don't you point it at the Earth and get some awesome shots of where we live?
So why don't they point the Hubble at Earth? The answer is actually sometimes they do, for calibration purposes, but Hubble is not designed to track the surface features on Earth as it orbits rapidly overhead. If it were, it would be a spy satellite. Given the time and the coordinates of this exposure, we can predict where Hubble should have been pointing at the Earth using its orbital elements. Let's take a look at what that simulation shows. Halfway into that 2-minute exposure, Hubble should have been pointing at Villahermosa in Mexico. But Hubble was not tracking the surface features of Earth, it was tracking coordinates of the sky. So what does that result in when you actually look at the picture? Well, this is what the resulting picture looks like, a series of streaks. Each of the street lights, buildings, cars, or other light sources on the night side of Earth all streak through the image as Hubble tracks the coordinates of the sky very accurately. That's what it was designed to do. It was not designed to be a spy satellite. Next, Eddie complains that there are no real photos of Earth from space. He claims that they're all CGI. In fact, he says that there's only one photo that NASA took in 1972 that they even claim is real, and that they admit that the rest are fake. That's not true. In fact, NASA takes photos of Earth from space every single day. You can go to this website, epic.gsfc.nasa.gov, and check out current photos of the Earth from space. More on this in just a moment.